this video, we will show how to use the HVAC data, in this particular case air quality related, to create use cases in Waylay platform. First of all, here I have some data from the real HVAC together with some external values such as outdoor temperature, humidity and so forth. We see here the PM value, CO2 and so forth and so forth. The first thing that we will do in the video is to try to ingest this data, so we'll do the simulation over the MQTT. And for that I created a small script. As you can see here, I will be reading the CSV file and then I will be sending one message at a time every second. So let me just do that first. So let me start that script here and I will do that for room 1. That is what I'm doing here. I'm loading this file and I will be pushing data for asset with the name room. In our system, so we see immediately the data gets ingested. So this is what we see here. We are getting data through the MQTT channel. And then if I look at the data query, that is what I have prepared earlier on, and I look for the data for the past 10 minutes. So what we start seeing now is that indeed this data gets immediately stored in our environment. The next thing I will do is that I will do some rather simple stream processing. For that case, I have already prepared upfront digital twin model with some thresholds that we'll be using for the stream processing, like a CO2, PM110 and 2.5. So these are the values that have been inherited from the resource type called room type. So these are the values that I'll be using in the first example, where I'm gonna just process this data as it arrives. I will go to designer. First I will just do some debugging. So here it's my asset with name room. And what we see now happening is data is getting processed. So for the time being it's all okay. We also see make use of the thresholds in the meta, so which means that we are taking the PM values for processing the real-time data for PM22. And if I just make one test, let's imagine that I would like to decrease this threshold, so to force air quality to be bad. Let me do that here. I can get to a particular room, so this is this one here. And let's imagine I'm going to force that by putting here value 0. So okay, I've done this here. And as soon as I've done that, we see now that indeed this has been crossed. And let me just remove this value here.
I repeat, open the window in the room.
So we've got alarm, or rather we got a phone to this person, so which is associated with this room, and this is actually what happened here. So this was the call that was forwarded to the person that is in charge, if you like, of this room, because we have done this while linking this way. So we got into the asset and we got the person associated with that, and we got his phone number. Similarly, we could have done the same thing by increasing, for instance, the CO2 measurement. So let me try to do the same thing here. Let me just force now another value. So okay, we keep this one running. And here I'm gonna push the room value in the CO2 for 2,500. That's what I'm just doing here. And again, the same thing will happen. Now this time this threshold has increased, and as a result I'm getting another call. So that was to test the stream processing and as well to test how that works together in relation to the meta model and configuration settings which are fetched during the runtime of this rule. And by the way, probably by now I've got a couple of Zendesk tickets. So let me see if that has happened. All right, so I've got 2 incidents that there was an air quality issue in that room. So that let me remove these things. So this is what was triggered by this sensor here. And but we also have observed that alarm was created every time threshold was crossed, while only first time that this happens, so we go from false to true, we would be making a call. So otherwise I would be getting calls every time the the threshold was crossed, which I wanted to avoid for this example. And by the way, if you look at now to alarms, you'll see how many times we have triggered the alarm for this particular example. The next thing I will do is that I will try to test another template that will take, so let me take my air quality templates. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to compute the air quality index based on the statistical processing. Now instead of fetching the stream data, I will be looking at the values over time. So for instance, let me test that by just putting here a room. Let me test that, and what we see now that you're going to actually take the mean value over the past 5 minutes, and what you see here is the average value is 434. So let me reload this one just to make sure that I have not changed anything in here. And if I now take the same room here and do it, for instance, every 5 seconds, what I'm going to do now is that I will actually compute the average values. Then I will here do some air quality index processing, and as a result of that I will store this value as well in the air quality index for a given resource. If I go back to this example here, what we see now happening is that as I've just enabled this second template, we see now that we are computing the air quality index for the same room. Finally, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to generate one machine learning model. So this is what I'm doing here. I am going through my Jupyter notebook. I'm fetching the data over time, and I'm doing a training set, creating the machine learning model. In this particular case, I'm using the isolation forest. I often use that one for a demo. Then I'm testing that against another data window, and as a result of that, I'm uploading this model, once I'm happy with that, into my environment, and I call this air quality model. That's the one that we see here. So this is what I have uploaded. This is the air quality model that I have uploaded from my Jupyter notebook. Now that I have that, I can actually go back and find my last template which I wanted to share here. This is this one here. What we see here is that we are actually fetching the data for the past 15 minutes. And then we are feeding that into the bring your own model prediction model. We are searching for outliers, and then as a result of that, we are creating alarms in case that we see the abnormal intake or values in the same room. So again, I can test that every here 5 seconds, I believe, and as a result of that, we see now there are no particular problems in relation to the anomaly for that room. The final thing we can do now is that let's now bring this all together. I will use the, in this particular case, resource type to associate all these rules that I've created before for all rooms of a given type. I had my machine learning model, so let me run this one every 15 minutes, that's fine. I'm gonna take another one which was a stream processing for the air quality, so hence I will use reactive mode. And the last one I did before, which was related to the air quality index calculation. So this was this one here. And let me compute that one every, let's say, 10 seconds. So that's going to be also periodic. And as a result of this operation, now I should see 3 tasks running for a given room. So let me check this one here. I'm here computing the air quality index. And what you also see for the same room, we have some other tasks. So these are the 3. We are also doing the stream processing as well. We're running the machine learning models. So here is the stream processing happening as we speak. So these are the values that are coming now by being pushed for the MQTT. The next thing, or the last thing I will do, is to push data for another room. So I'm here calling the room 1. Now it is interesting to mention that this room does not exist before. So this is what we see here. So there is no room 1. I'm going to start pushing data for room 1. So that is, I'm using the same file. And if you look at now back into my resources, I will now find there is one more, room 1, which has just been created now as I'm just start pushing the data. So this is what is happening. I am basically generating values and metrics as well for this new asset. Now, if I would like to use exactly the same rule for this room, so what I need to do now is to basically go to my room 1, associate that one to the room type. This is what I'm doing now here. And as soon as I've done that, now what I can actually see is that my rules will be running. So this is the task which I have now started automatically. So this is what we call a zero-touch automation provisioning, if you like. And we see also now that indeed the same rules are applying to this new asset as well. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.